This pattern I've chosen here, it has some lace down the front and lace across the pockets. And I was trying to decide what I wanted to do. And I decided that I really liked this blue ribbon on it. It just really brings out the blue, and it's a kind of a vivid color like the green is, so I think it will be really good. And I'm kind of pressing here because I'm gonna pin that on the front of the dress. That's the first thing that I'm gonna want to do, because I want it to be caught up in the neck seam. I almost said neck sleeve. Now, is that silly or what? Okay. And I'm just gonna lightly pin it on at this moment. And I will start at the top and sew on down to make sure that I get it straight. I actually need to give myself just a little bit more. Alrighty. And then I will need to do it on the pockets as well. And these pockets, I'll need to use the iron to make them better, but they fold in half like this. And then the ribbon, I haven't cut it, but I'll just show you, the ribbon will come across the top like that on each pocket. And I need to sew it inside out first so that the seam is inside, so the edges are really finished when I sew it onto the dress. So it will go on the dress like this, and then of course the seam across it like that. So I want it to be a finished edge when I put it on there. So we'll do that. I'll go to this machine and sew that on. And I don't think I'll do anything down the back side because that's just where the closing is going to be. But I will go to that point. I hope this won't be a real ride. I'm going to try and show you that I'm using a double needle to put this ribbon on. I checked my needle to see if it would fit, and it does. So I'm gonna just show you that the double needle goes right along the ribbon just perfectly. I could have used a smaller one, but at least a thinner one, but this one was just so perfect that I decided to give it a shot. This is my double needle right here, and it fits just perfectly. Sorry, I'm losing my focus here, but it just fit perfectly on the ribbon, and so you can only kind of see where my stitches are, but it stitched it on all at once. And this was the size of the needle that I used. So try to hold that nice and straight. Okay, and then that has stitched just perfectly on each side of it. And then on the back side, it gives me a look like that. It just holds it on there. Just a nice little trick, nice and even, and don't have to do it twice. The front of the dress is done, and then I pinned these so I could fold them flat, and now I need to do some little snips around the corner, not to get to my thread. Have to be really careful with that. Okay, and then I'm going to trim this back just a little bit so I don't have a bulky corner. Then this is the pocket, and we turn it inside out. Get my corner there. And I sewed the ribbon on already because I wanted to do it while I had my double needle. But then I had to take my double needle out to do the seam. So there's the pocket. I'll have to iron it, but it will be sewn on like that. Okay, now I'll get the other one and I'll do it. Now I've put the pockets on, and I decided to go ahead and do a top stitch in the blue thread color, hoping to help tie in the blue. Now the next thing that we need to do, I guess I could leave that your way, is sew our shoulder seams together. Sides facing. And this one sides facing. Then we also need to do the lining part. So we have the back piece and the front piece. And then we do sides facing again. Okay, once we've stitched those across, then we'll come back and put them together, and then we'll sew around again. Alright, it's a good thing I looked at the directions, because it shows to sew the side seams and then to sew the top pieces on together, and then after you turn it inside out, then you sew the top or the shoulder seam. So I would have done it wrong. Not that I couldn't have made it work my way, but if we're following the pattern instructions, then we'll do it this way. I wanted to quickly show how I put my patterns away after I've used them. I will usually fold them and just lightly iron over them. This one will fit inside, and so will this one, so I don't need to fold those. But it just crisps them up, and then they stay like new so much longer. This one, I believe, had a crease there and a crease here. And same with this one. There's a crease there and crease here. Then they're all nice and flat, and they look like new again. And I'm going to put those away in my pattern now. Well, when I get down here. Okay, so I have taken the dress, and I have gone over and sewed the seams, and then I also did the serge stitch so that I could finish it off. I just like to do that, and I have sewn it one certain way with the serge stitch, so I need to press it that way. And partly I did that so that my seams underneath the arm would match up. So this one is pressed all this way, and then I get my lining piece and it's all thrown this way. So when I put it back together, then my seams will spread out to the opposite side. Okay. Turn that off. It'll go off on anyway, but I like to do that. Okay, now let me get rid of this. I'll get rid of this so we can see. Now we're going to put the pieces together. Interesting. It's just a little bit shorter than the rest of it, but that's the way it had me cut it out. So I'm going to pin that. Shoulders. Okay, and shoulders back here. And over here. Okay, now when I go to sew them, I sew up here, that's the neckline, and go down around the sleeves and around the front neckline, and then down around the underarm, or where a sleeve would be, but we don't put a sleeve on this one. So I do need to pin my seams. Okay. Then the other one. Just to keep them together while I sew. Okay, now when I get over there, I'm gonna move this up just a little teeny bit so that it matches right here at the neck. If I figure this out right, I think what it wants me to do is keep these seams lined up, these seams lined up, and that one. And then, when I get done, back here, I pull it. Well, that really kind of doesn't make sense. It would up here to pull it in so that it makes the front fabric turn under just a little bit because the underneath is tighter. All right, well, I'm going to mess around with it a little bit and see if it comes out differently at the sewing machine. I wanted to show you, in case you do the same thing I did, I pulled out the pattern and measured it to see if the pattern sizes were really different, and they're not. They match right up. So apparently I cut a little bigger on my front piece. So what I did was just follow my seam around and followed the lining piece because the lining piece was correct. So now I've got to clip my seams around each one, and then we'll turn it inside out. Okay, I have clipped all the seams so that they can bend back around. And this one should be the same. Then we're going to take them and turn them inside out. And then when it shows to finish off the seams up here, it just shows to make the seam. It doesn't show to do anything different to make them be inside each other or whatever. I think if it was a adult piece of clothing, get my pieces poked out here with a pencil that's not sharpened. Okay, get the last one. Okay. I'm gonna bring my mat back up here and see if we can press it under. And then I am going to top stitch with the blue again. And when we hem this, I'm going to use the blue as well. Kind of start out on the front, but then I go to the back side and iron it on the back side too. And this one I need to push through a little bit. Need the seams to come all the way out so that they match up. Okay, I'll turn it over. And just kind of work with it. If you need to just kind of keep pinching here and there, or put something in there to press it out to help smooth it out there, you can do that. Like this one right here, it needs to flatten out just a little bit more so the fabric isn't sinking into the seams. Okay, then it just says to put the shoulders together and sew a seam, and same with this one, and sew a seam. I'll go do that and I'll do my top stitching and I'll be back. Okay, I wanted to stop and show you as I stitched around. I realized that I needed my back seam to be finished so that I could do a top stitch and have it all finished too. So I pulled that, I pushed it back inside out, pulled my front and back together, and then I just stitched right there. And then I went ahead and did my serge stitch. But now I got to push that back out because this is the very back side, and I need to, if I want to poke it with this or not, I have to be careful because I don't want to poke any holes here. This is my seam ripper, so okay. And now I can go ahead and finish the stitching. Oh, and I also found that my front what do you want to call that? Strap, there we go. Actually fit inside the back strap, and then it was nice and tight. So I did go ahead and stick it inside and finished it with a zigzag stitch. That way it's not gonna run and be raw. Now I needed to clip my corner so I could get a nice clean corner out here. Again, this is just the other side. Okay, now I can go ahead and do my top stitching. Now I've done all my top stitching, and then it needs to have a little bit of a seam in the back. I guess you could leave it all the way open, but I like to have them sewn up just a little bit so that's not just Velcro that's keeping it together. So these are going to go, these are going to go over top of each other, so we've got a little bit of room down here. I'm just going to go ahead and stitch up the back just a little bit, and then we'll be able to put our Velcro in there so that it will close up. And then I just need to do the hem and it'll be done. Make sure all my threads are clipped and stuff, but I think it's turned out pretty good. I've got my iron heated up here, so I just wanted to hurry up and touch that back just a little bit. And so here's my inside, and I serged my seam in there so I didn't have to hand do anything. I guess I wouldn't have done it by hand anyway. It would have just needed a hem or stitching of some sort, but the serger does a great job. Okay. Now I can go stitch up, and I will hem it, and I will be back. All right, finished it off. I did the seam up to the back just a little bit, and then I put a piece of Velcro up here. I take a piece of Velcro and just cut it about an inch, and then I cut it in half. So this is the half of each one. So and then you just put it together, and it's ready to go. Let's see if we can get it on her. Well, if I can get both feet in the bottom, we'll be good. Turn her over. Did the little Velcro up. And there she is. Ready to go. I think it turned out pretty good. kind of a fun little pattern for her. Again, this was Simplicity 2296, and I just did the F version. It turned out really well. Thank you for watching. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share if you'd like to, and I'll see you next time. Oh, I did want to say that all of these doll outfits that I'm doing are for a charity. I just make a bunch of them, and I have just decided to start filming them. This charity gives dolls to little girls who go into foster care. It just gives them something fun and to have of their own and to attach to, maybe, if you want to say that. But then they can play and have their own outfits, and I enjoy doing it. So it works out good for me and for them. And I just use up all my scraps, and they sometimes give me scraps of stuff to use, and I just use whatever I got in my stash, and it's just kind of fun to see what I come up with. So come back and see what I do next time.